The Dora Project, launched in April 2015 and concluded in May 2016, set out to create a memorial for lives lost in the Mitterrand Dora concentration camp. April 2015 marked the 70th year of liberation from World War II concentration and extermination camps. The Dora Project addresses the history behind V1 and V2 rockets, themes of memory, London and how it was affected in the war, and the ethicality behind memorial.
Mitterrand Dora, or Dora as it was codenamed, was a Nazi concentration camp situated in Nordhausen, Germany. Dora was home to a secret underground factory named Mittelwerk, where prisoners of Dora were used as slave labour to assemble V1 and V2 rockets. Between August 1943 and April 1945, 60,000 prisoners spent their days captured at Dora. It is estimated over 20,000 of these prisoners never made it out alive. The V1 missile, which is described as a flying bomb, was the first of two types of V missile to be created. Shortly after came the V2 missile. The V2 was a ballistic missile and was Adolf Hitler's revenge weapon of choice. The V2 caused mass destruction in London during World War II, killing an estimated 2,500 people and injuring around 6,000. There were countless V2 attacks during World War II, including 2 in Peckham and 1 in Deptford, just a couple of miles down the road. This makes the site of the Dora Project, Peckham Platform, relative to the work.
The V2 technology is now largely used in the American, British and Russian military. The technology is now so used, in fact, that it was used earlier this year, on the 13th of January during astronaut Tim Peake's spacewalk. This is clearly shown in Francois Dupre's text-based drawing installation, Timeline. Timeline spreads out for 4 metres over multiple sheets of paper taped together. It consists of a timeline of stories Dupre discovered about the V2 missiles. These stories she found were so interconnected that they had to be exposed. The timeline's connections go from 1926 all the way to January 2016. Projected onto the timeline, Rebecca Snow's film. This brings memorial to those that shed blood, sweat and tears building V1 and V2 missiles, and brings awareness to those that were otherwise ignorant to the history of the V2 rockets. Rebecca Snow, the artist in collaboration with Dupre on this journey, has a history relative to World War II and the V2 missiles. Her great-granddad, James Anderson, worked as an industrial chemist before the war. When the war hit, he worked for British Intelligence Subcommittee and recovered German industrial evidences in 1945. Rebecca Snow's films play a great place in remembering the lives lost in Dora and in London. Her shots of what Dora has now become, a vast empty land of memorial, brings emotions of both sadness and hope. Her shots of the growing plants stand as a metaphor of how the world has grown since World War II, and how resilient the earth is to everything that is thrown at it. Francois Dupre's uncle, Robert Barthelot, was a French resistant and a political prisoner at Dora. He was one of the lucky few that survived the harsh conditions of a Nazi concentration camp. Her family connections to Dora are one of the reasons she is so interested and willing to expose it.
Dupre's piece, Moon Atlas, is a text and drawing-based type-tish wall installation. It uses 3 long strands of Japanese paper, which is integral to the history behind the Dora Project. In 1937, Japan invaded China. They set out to dominate all of Southeast Asia. In 1940, they joined the Axis alliance with Germany. This led to an initiation of conflicts that caused World War II. Japan signed a tripartite pact with Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy, which agreed that they would assist one another if any of them were to be attacked by another country not involved in war. The Japanese paper was lightly pinned onto the wall with red gridded dressmaking paper behind it. Not only was this to make sure that the piece sat straight on the wall, but it was a homage to Dupre's mother, Pauline Nee Bartholomew. She was a dressmaker and contributed hugely to the family's income during the war. Across the layers of paper, Dupre also superimposed diagrams of V2 missiles on engineering papers, diagrams of the site plans of Dora, and lists of Nazi camps, rocket testing and launch sites, dates, times and places of the V2 launches and London attacks. On top of that, Dupre has handwritten overlaying lists of moon craters, basins, ridges, plateaus and landing sites. This relates to how the V2 rockets are being used today in space and military technology.
Field Report was a project and film put together by Franco Dupre, Rebecca Stowe and the Year 9 children of JFS, a London Jewish comprehensive school. It shows the children being educated on the Holocaust, Dora and the relation to the V2 missiles. They used children from a Jewish school local to Peckham, linking the past and the present together, a common theme throughout. The school was interested in Dupre and Stowe coming to educate the children about World War II. And as the children were from Jewish descent, they still had some knowledge about the Holocaust and World War II, but weren't taught about it in school yet. They took the children to the Imperial War Museum to educate them on V2 missiles. According to Dupre, there is little known memorial to those that lost their lives building the missiles, and more attention on glamorising the technology behind it. The historical, political and ethical themes are rife in the Dora Project. The Dora Project contributes greatly to questions and debates surrounding the ethics and nature of the role of memorials and ethics in science and art.